Hello YouTube, welcome to this Mike and Max presentation. Today we are discussing AI and automation and how it impacts the world. Mike, how's it going?
What up, what up?
Hey, so that title, this AI and automation and how it impacts the world, is an interesting topic. I will first say that I am not an expert in AI. I am familiar with it and have utilized it in some way, but I don't want to feign an expertise in this in any way. So let's start this with you would say you have some familiarity with computer AI systems and various AI systems. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm not an expert in it, but I mean, I use it pretty religiously.
So I think our discussion here, which is basic, common, or I should frame this as this is a just casual discussion from kind of a layman's view on these things, and we just as a common person's utilization of these. I'm sure similarly in our day-to-day lives, maybe our jobs and what automation has led to, AI usage on our various hobbies or skills or something in AI also has an effect on our day-to-day lives. So we're going to discuss that. Firstly, are you familiar with AI creative generation, like images, video, music? Have you used that at all?
Oh, absolutely, all the time.
Would you say that AI images have gotten to the point that when you see an AI image, you can no longer be certain it's an AI image?
Yes, I think depending on the software or the type of AI that's being used, I mean, there's so many different types. Good ones, yes, they're very hard to tell.
I remember, like, even just a few years ago, you'd look at an AI image and you're like, okay, well, it's got an extra finger, or the uncanny valley of the face was off. But think the AI has gotten to the point. An image now, you cannot determine. An AI image now is so good in very simple things, or even in more complex things often, that AI images have been nearly perfected as long as you have good enough technology. Do you think that's fair?
Unless you're trained to catch certain things. I think people that are very trained in it, they use it all the time, probably can catch some things that's off. I think images have gotten harder and harder to tell. Videos, there's still some giveaways because it's not perfected, but images images are very hard to tell.
So I think we're in artistry. I mean, AI has gotten to the point where, I mean, you can use AI to make videos and music and voices. I mean, in that sphere, in that space, is there a fear that AI will completely eliminate the artists from our of influence?
Oh, I think there's absolutely a possibility. I mean, I think there's always going to be a niche for artists just because AI doesn't do things perfect. At least when I'm using it, you train it on certain logic or you train it on desired outputs. And sometimes to get a good image or to get a good result, I mean, you're spending sometimes I spent an hour trying to get a perfect thing before, just because you're not getting what you want to get. So I think no matter how much you put into it, there's still going to be a world for artists because artists can give you exactly what you're going for. But how it's impacting things like that, absolutely. I think it's largely fucking the market. I don't have stats to pull this up, but my assumption is I can do things now that I used to I would need an artist to commission things that I can go into Chat or to Sora or to all these multitudes of different things that I'm sub to and spit out some results and get an image that's largely not exactly what I want, but that is more than sufficient for what I need. So I can't imagine other people aren't utilizing this and it's fucking the market a bit.
There's just a natural backlash to this, and maybe it's understandable from an artistic point of view. But is this backlash to AI, at least in the artistic field, similar to an automation backlash, where people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's AI is going to eliminate the human touch in this," or is there something deeper than that?
I think it's similar to automation. I mean, like, imagine if you're an artist and like you're making your living off of that, and then all of a sudden, like, you're losing work because people don't need it. I think there's going to be an obvious backlash, but I think the unfortunate reality to that is we have now opened Pandora's box with this, and there's no putting it back in the box at this point. It's either you get on board with what's happening with it and learn to utilize it and how to make it benefit you, or you are largely left behind. I'm sure people felt this way about computers, like back when it started automating things.
It's
Um,
funny. It's funny you should use that because I was going to use that as an example of the kind of backlash. I'm trying to frame this as: are people against AI art against it for the same reason as automation? And I think there is a distinction there. But one of the things is that people who are against computers, it's understandable because in 1900 Oxford English Dictionary, I believe a computer was defined as someone who was doing math, and so those people were probably against computers, or they would be eventually when the computer kind of eliminated the need for a literal human computer. So people who are anti-AI, not all of them are the artists being replaced. Do you have any thoughts on the people who are not artists, and they're not going to be replaced by the AI artistry aspects of it, but are still like, I don't want to see AI, I just automatically hate AI artwork and all of that stuff. Do you know if there's a specific reason for that? Or
I
is that
think
a similar fear, I guess?
I think it's a similar fear because if it can replace art, what else can it replace, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how much you use it in day to day, but I mean, I use it in work. I use it in work. I use it in hobbies. I use it in everything. And we are at the tip of the iceberg with what AI can do. And just being at the tip of the iceberg, the ability to train it to do certain things. I mean, you can give it PDFs and have it memorize PDFs. Granted, it's not perfect with PDF memory, but it can read PDFs and get it mostly correct. You can give it specific instructions and train it on how you want it to act or how you want it to respond. If you're responding to business emails, you can correct it and say, make this sound managerial with the slight sense of humor, or managerial with like a certain type of tone, and it will remember this and build logic off of it. And again, we're at the tip of the iceberg. I think what this is going to do in a large amount of time, the fact that it can store things to memory that you need it to, like large amounts of information, and produce results off that, like it's already really affecting automation and work. And I think there is boundless potential for what it's going to do. So I think there's inevitably going to be a fear of that.
Sure, I think that's understandable. One of the in terms of the evolution of AI, I think we can say that it can do a lot of that artistic stuff. I think a lot of people are going to be familiar with the 1950s thought experiment by Alan Turing that basically says we've reached a threshold when the AI can exhibit behavior indistinguishable from that of a human. Do you think the AIs now, like ChatGPT or some of the other like chatbot type AIs, have reached that point where you can't distinguish them from a human?
Not at all. I think that portion of it is still it's for anybody that uses it, it's completely obvious when it's AI. Like, you could go type something and tell chat to sound like a human and send it to me, and I think probably 9 times out of 10, I would probably guess what's AI and what's not. It's harder on pictures and images and videos, but how it chooses dialect, how it chooses tone, how it chooses to respond to you in certain ways. It can mimic aspects, but there's certain key indicators that like this is AI. I think the longer this goes, the more it's going to be indistinguishable. I would bet in 2 to 3 years, based off like how fast this is progressing, it's going to be largely impossible to tell.
I mean, it's progressed so fast. I mean, 5 years ago, every image of a person had 6 fingers. Now, I think I would agree with you. It isn't indistinguishable to the untrained eye, and I think it's getting better and better. Do you think we're close to that threshold, or do you think anything prevents that threshold? Like, it's just going to progress further and further, and the doomsday scenario of the Terminator franchise will just, I mean, we're going to put AI on our government defense systems, and the AI will take over, and then doomsday just happens per the Terminator movies.
I don't think we're going to go into term. I mean, you know what? I say that, but I have no idea. God knows if you train AI enough that it could like remove the boundaries that it has on itself. I have no idea what it could possibly do. I do think there's drastic scenarios that I'm horrified of that could potentially happen, and they're kind of dark scenarios, but I think they're largely realistic in the impact they have. I think there's more automation's a big concern, but there's, I think, broader concerns than that are probably very likely to happen in the next few years.
Certainly, it is fascinating if we look at it, and who knows what the future will bring. Certainly, the abilities of AI have expanded exponentially in just the last few years. It is certainly an interesting and fascinating topic. I am interested to see how all the comments that all of the listeners will leave. Please comment, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for listening to this DebateCraft production. Have a great day.